Okay, in this video we will continue on the beginner's guide to Love2D, and this is going to be the Lua language. So if you haven't yet, you will need to clone the GitHub repository, GitHub Programming Rainbow Beginner's Guide to Love2D. You'll need to clone that, and this is the fourth video, so you can grab the code from the third video and just copy it into the top level. It'll be these two files here. So you can just delete these and grab the one from the third video and bring them up here. Okay, I will show you where we ended off with. So we have loaded this background image. We've changed the background color. We've loaded text, moved it around the screen. We have it bouncing off the walls. We've loaded a sprite, player sprite. We can move it around with our keys or our AWSD keys. And we have a title up here. And we have a window icon as well loaded, but we don't see that in this tiling window manager. So in this one, we're going to be loading sound effects and music. So let's right away, we'll go and change this one to sound and music. And that will change the window title now to sound and music. And then I'm just going to close this because we don't need it again. So we're working with audio. So if we're back in the love2d.org wiki site, we're going to be looking at Love Audio. And we're going to be loading two different types of audio. So there's in Love2D there is something called static and something called stream. So let's look at the function first. So the function we need is new source. Yeah, and that should be open right here. So this is the function new source. And it's basically gonna load an object from a file name, and it also needs to know the type of it and save it in a variable. So if we open up this source type right here, we get an explanation of these two different types that we have. Basically, the difference is one is a music, kind of like if you want a long playing musical song to play, it's going to be stream. And if you just want the short sound effects, it's going to be static. So we're going to be using one or the other when we load our audio files. And we're going to be using the same function for both, but we're going to change that type. And we will be holding these in the game table. So over here, I'll show you the audio that we have available for sound effects. We have two sounds. One is Love, and the other one's Lua. Those are OGG sound files. And for music, we have the free software 8-bit sound, or this free software song 8-bit version, and it is also an OGG file. So the way we're going to load a sound, I'm going to do this in the game load section where I'm kind of loading the more complicated things. And let's do a sound effect first. We can just load the Lua sound, and we'll just call it Lua. It'll be self.lua. And now this will be the function. So I can paste that function in, and we need to tell it where the sound file is that we need to load, and this one is in the sounds folder. And it's called lua.ogg. So we can write that, sounds, lua.ogg. And now we need the type. So this is a sound effect. So we're going to use the static type. And this is also in quotations as well. I'm not sure if it shows it here. Doesn't give like examples. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this also needs to be in quotations. That's how I have it. So it's going to be static. And then we close it off. So that's going to load up our kind of sound effect file. And we have one that's called Lua, and we also have one that's called Love. So why don't we just grab this file right here, and we'll just copy it. And we can change it to Love as well. And we'll change the file name to love.org, and it's still a static. Okay, and the way that we can play these, so we're loading these files, and they're basically where is it? Source. So we're loading them to what's this item is called. They're calling it source. It's whatever the name you call it. So there's many methods that are already associated with this. So when it loads the audio into this object, whatever we called it, for us we called it self.lua and self.love. Those objects already have different methods associated with them. So if you open up this source link right here, we get all these methods that are already created for us. So anytime you load an audio file, you have all these available. Not all of them. Some of them have been deprecated, but you have all these kind of things available to us. And you'll see this source :play. And that is what we're going to use to just make to play something, right? So let's try that. Let's put it on our when we're pressing the space key, we're changing the color of the render in the background, right? And that's done through this rand color method right here. So we could just put here, we could say self dot see the we'll call it Lua, right? That is our actual sound file. And then we can use colon, and we're going to call one of these methods, and we can say play. Okay, and I'm going to listen in on this one as I do it. So we're going to test this real quick, see if we've loaded it, and see if we can play it correctly.
Lua. Lua.
Now I'm going to press it several times quickly, and you'll probably hear a problem with it.
Lua. Lua.
Okay, so I pressed it 4 times. I'm going to close it now. I pressed it 4 times, but it only said Lua 2 times. And what's happening is it can't say Lua again until the last audio file, until the last one finished. And that's not going to be very good for us. We want these audio sound effects to be able to be played on top of each other. We want more than one of them, you know. We don't want it to just be able to be played one time. We want it to be played as many times as we press the key. So there's this, I'm not sure if it's in here, there's a thing called clone. Here it is. Creates an identical copy of the source in the stopped state. So what this does is if we clone it while we play it, we can actually play it multiple times. Every time I hit the space bar, it'll play, and it won't worry if the sound is still playing. Before it wouldn't play again unless the sound had stopped. This time it'll just, you'll hear multiple versions on top of itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, right here, before it says play, first I'm going to colon clone. That's going to make a clone of it. Call that as a method, and then colon play. So it's going to clone it and then play it. Okay, let's check that. Okay, I'm going to press it like 4 times.
Lua. 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 Lua.
Okay, so that time the sounds actually got to play even on top of itself. It didn't have to wait for the sound to end before the next sound played. Okay, so we have it saying Lua when we press the space bar. So why don't we have it say love when the text bounces off the edge of the screen? So all these in the update text right here, if we grab this and we take it down here, when one of these gets triggered where it needs to change the velocity, we put it here. And we'll change this to love instead of Lua, because that's the word that's bouncing around the screen. And I can use clone. It doesn't really matter on this one because I don't think it's going to be layered on top of itself as much. So I'm gonna put it on each of them. So each time that one of these is triggered, I'm gonna have it say it. So basically, whatever wall it bounces off of. I'm just pasting it down below. Each of them. So anytime the direction changes, it's going to say love now.
Love, 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 love,
Okay.
love.
So now we have it saying love when the text bounces off the wall. That's when that event happens. And every time we press the space bar, it'll say Lua. And it'll change the background color. So that's sound effects. And you can kind of see how you could use that in your game. Anywhere that you want it, you can just tell the sound effect to play itself. And if you want it to be able to layer, you can tell it to clone itself and then play itself. Okay, so now let's think about playing a music file. So we have this free software song, and this is meant to be music playing. So instead of using the static one, we're going to use the stream. Is it here? Is it here? Yeah. So we're going to use this stream one instead of the static one, but we're going to load it the same way. So I'm going to take this. It's going to be just like it. And I'm going to copy it. And this one, I'll just call it music. And it's in the music subfolder. And this one's called free software song. (8-bit). And this was not static. This one is stream. I think it's just stream. Let me check. Yeah, stream. Okay. So we can do the same thing for playing stream. And what I would like to do is actually, right after all the loading is finished, before it goes into the game loop, before these get called over and over again here, this gets called one time, and then this goes into a loop over and over again. And so, or sorry, not this load. The update and the draw go into a loop over and over again. This load gets called one time. This happens any time that this key press event happens. So this is kind of doing its own thing as well. It's being checked every time through the loop as well. But this happens just one time, and then these two and the key press happen over and over again in a loop. So I don't want the music to start playing over and over in the loop. I want it to start one time, just one time. So I'm going to put it here. After I've loaded it, we're going to go, and we've already seen, the method to play a sound effect is just play. But there is a different thing. We don't want the music to just play one time. We want the music to loop. So over here in the source, we can set is looping. We can set it to looping. I'm just going to look right here. There we go. We could say set a source is looping. I want to set it. Set looping. There we go. So I can make the sound when it's finished to start playing again. So when the song ends, the song will start playing again. So I'm going to use this method on that to set it to looping. So for the music here, I'm going to say self.music and then colon set looping. And I'm going to put that true. So I don't know if it says it or not. Let's look at it. We need to put, it's a Boolean, so we need this to be true or false. So I'm going to set it to true. And we can see down here, music, colon, set. Now this music is a global. We're using self.music, but it doesn't need to be called music. You can call it whatever you want. That's just a variable name. But this music, and then set looping to true, and then play. So we're going to do the exact same thing. So we can go self.music, play. Okay, and before I play this, let's think about the fact that maybe sometimes we don't want it to play, or maybe we want to pause it or not listen to it anymore. So why don't we just add that in as well? So let's play it real quick so we can hear it working.
Love, love, love.
Okay. So we know the music is loading and the music is playing. So let's give us the ability to pause the music. So if we look back in here and all the source, all the stuff that we can do with source, one of the things we can do is we can check to see if it's paused. This is pause is returning a Boolean whether it's paused or not. And I think this has been replaced by isPlaying. So it's deprecated. It's been removed. So instead of is paused, we'll look for isPlaying, which is right below it. So this one will return true if it's playing and return false if it's paused or if it's not playing. So we can use this right here to check if the music is playing. And this is just going to return a Boolean as well. And then we can pause the music right down, where is it? Right here. We can tell the music to pause here. And here's another one that got deprecated. We could resume the music, but it's been deprecated. So if we look at it, it's just says use play now. So this resume won't work anymore. It used to work. But instead of when it's paused, you can just play, and it doesn't start playing it from the beginning. It will automatically resume it. So we'll use this play that we've already used to start playing the music. If the music is paused, this will continue to play the music where it was paused at. So we're going to use these kind of functions right here. But the first thing we're going to check is it playing? So we're going to make a new method to do this. And I'm going to put it here, and I'll call it game. We'll say pause music. I think that's what I called it. Yep. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is check to see, is this music playing or paused? So we say if self music is playing is the current one. Then, so if it is playing, we want to pause it. So we'll say self music pause. And then we could just put an else on this. Wait, come on. Okay, so we can put the else and we can just tell it to play again. And the important thing about this is it doesn't stop the music and then start it from the beginning again. It pauses it wherever it is in the track, and then when you play it again, it continues on from that same position. And this is acting as a toggle. So whenever this method gets called, it's either going to pause it or unpause it, depending on whatever state the music is playing or not playing. So this is checking if it's playing. This is pausing if it is, or unpausing if it's already paused, it's unpausing it. And what we'll do here is we'll create a new key press here, and we'll just call it M, the M key. So when you press M, that's going to pause the music. So we'll do the else if k equals, and we'll say M. Then, and this one is pause music. So every time we M, it's either going to pause it or unpause it. Okay, and I've spelled function wrong. Okay, so I'm going to let the music play just long enough for me to hear it, and then I'm going to press the pause and then unpause. And maybe a couple times, and you should hear if it's resuming in that same position it was paused at.
Love, 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 love.
Okay, I hear it a little bit delayed, so I had, but it is pausing and resuming. where it was. So that'll allow you to play music. You can stop the music as well. There's many different methods that you can find in here. Looking in the, this will be source. So if you're in the audio section, and then it's talking about the stuff you load is the source. When you click on the source, or there's probably other ways to get to it, you'll find all these methods that are linked to whatever the source audio that you loaded is, whether it's a sound effect or a music, or a streaming or a static. There's all kinds of different ones here, and there's lots of information, but it's very simple, very straightforward thing to do. So let's just cover real quick what we've done here. We've loaded 3 different audio files. 2 of them are sound effects. They're static. You just need to put in the relative path to them. And then we've loaded what we've called music, but you can again call it whatever you like. And we have the path to the music, and this is a stream, not a static. And since we want the music to loop, we've called a method on this music called setLooping to true. And then we've played the music. For the sound effects, since we want these sound effects to be played on top of themselves, we are using this clone method and then the play method on it. So we can clone it and play it right away. And I'm just doing these on when the text bounces off the wall. I'm just having it say what the text says. And whenever I change the color of the, where is it, the background color right here, I'm having it say Lua, which is what the icon is. The icon is also Lua. And then we have this toggle that we're using that's basically checking if it's paused and unpausing it, or pausing it if it's not. And we're calling that in the same way that we call any kind of key event. These are all key events. If we were to use the other way, where it's just if is it down, it would pause and unpause it every frame. Whereas this is one action happens. The other one, the other method for moving the sprite update, this happens every single frame, whereas this happens just one time. Escape was pressed just one time. Space was pressed one time. M was, it's not going to repeat it. If you were slow at pressing it for 20 or 30 frames, it just does it one time. I'm not saying there is no repeat happening if you were just to hold it down forever, but generally it's just a one-time thing. Whereas this is a per frame happening. So you got to remember there's a difference in those 2 styles. But that's going to be it for that's just a kind of the beginner's guide to learning how to load images, how to load text and font and sound, and how to move them around the screen and control them and everything. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that. Bye.